Good morning. It's Tuesday, and we're finishing the Island of the Blue Dolphins. This is the author's note at the back of the book, and I wanted to read this with you because I want you to understand that this is a fictitious story based on a real happening. There really was a girl that lived on an island like this, but this writer has taken liberties to kind of decide what her life must have been like through the research that he did. So let's read about the real girl that lived on this island. And this is on page 182 in my book. It's called The Author's Note, just in the very back. So let's read this together. The island called in this book the Island of the Blue Dolphins was first settled by Indians in about 2000 BC, but it was not discovered by white men until 1602. In that year, the Spanish explorer Sebastian Villicano set out from Mexico in search of a port where treasured Galileans from the Philippines could find shelter in case of distress. Sailing north along the California coast, he sighted the island, sent a small boat ashore, and named it La Isla de San Nicolas in honor of the patron saint of all sailors, travelers, and merchants. As the centuries passed, California changed from Spanish to Mexican hands. The Americans arrived, but only occasional hunters visited the islands. Its Indian inhabitants remained in isolation. The girl Robinson Crusoe, whose story I have attempted to recreate, actually lived alone upon the island from 1835 to 1853 and is known to history as the Lost Woman of San Nicolas. The facts about her are few. From the reports of Captain Hubbard, whose schooner carried away the Indians of Galahad, we know that the girl did jump into the sea despite efforts to restrain her. From the records left by Captain Nidever, we know that he found her 18 years later, alone with a dog in a crude house on the headland, dressed in a skirt of cormorant feathers. Father Gonzalez of Santa Barbara Mission, who befriended her after her rescue, learned that her brother had been killed by wild dogs. He learned little else, for she spoke to him only in signs. Neither he nor the many Indians at the mission could understand her strange language. The Indians of Galahad had long since disappeared. The lost woman of San Nicolas was buried in a hill near Santa Barbara Mission. Her skirt of green cormorant feathers was sent to Rome. Outermost of the 8 Channel Islands, San Nicolas is about 75 miles southwest of Los Angeles. For years, historians thought that it had been settled some 6 centuries ago, but recent carbon-14 tests of excavations on the island show that the Indians came here from the north long before the Christian era. Their images of the creatures of the land, sea, and air, similar to those found on the shores of Alaska, are carved with extraordinary skill and may be seen at the Southwest Museum in Los Angeles. The future of San Nicolas is not clear. It is now a secret base of the United States Navy, but scientists predict that because of the pounding of the waves and the furious winds, it will one day be swept back into the sea. In the writing of the Island of the Blue Dolphins, I am deeply indebted to Maud and Delos Lovelace, to Bernice Eastman Johnson of the Southwest Museum, and to Fletcher Carr, formerly curator of the San Diego Museum of Man. And this was written by Scott Odell, and it was written quite some time ago. I'm trying to look back. In the early 1900s, I know was in the early 1900s was when these awards were given out. But I was trying to look up in the front part of this book to see actually when it was published. 1960 was the first publishing of this book. So this book is really old, and that might be if you have extra time, you might want to do some type of research project to see if this island is still there. and if it's still a Navy base. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed reading The Island of the Blue Dolphin. In the next couple of days, I'll be putting some questions on GroupMe that you can answer that will help me to evaluate how well you read the book. But I hope you enjoyed it, and we will be beginning another book tomorrow called The Boy in Striped Pajamas. Very different book, and we'll talk about that tomorrow. Have a great Tuesday.